Welcome, friends, to yet another podcast about music and film. Today, I would like to I would like to introduce, that's the word I'm looking for, a wonderful,
That's it. You got it, man.
a most
You know
wonderful, a most wonderful new filmmaker. This will be a little different. We're dealing with a filmmaker who's really fresh out of school here that I'm working with. Eduardo Freitas.
Woo! Thank you, Ed. Man, I am a fan. Thank you for having me. I'm a fan of the podcast as early as it is, but I already told you I've been listening to it, and yeah, man, I'm pumped. Thank you for the wonderful introduction.
Well, yeah, I'm new to podcasting as you are new to filmmaking. I guess that's one way to look at it. So anyway, we'll help each other out here. But anyway, I wanted to talk to Eduardo because I recently scored a documentary of his about DACA, the Dreamer Act, and it's pretty phenomenal. I mean, it's going to be a very interesting film, and I had a lot of fun working with him. And one of the great rules, I think, of collaboration, you actually have to like the person you're working with. And we both are Eds. That's a bonus.
Yes, we are Ed's. I don't know what it was. I think the name just kind of was like, you know what? Something about Ed working with Ed kind of gave me a good feeling. It was cool. Like, we had a good vibe when we first talked. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I felt comfortable working with you. As you mentioned, it's, I'm just starting out. So I figured, working with someone that knows so much more, it was like, it just feels good. Ed and Ed.
I worked with another Ed once, a percussionist, and I think we called it was a very brief collaboration. We called it Ed Squared. Anyway.
Squared.
All right. Well, let's get into this thing.
All right.
We'll go from the beginning here.
Yeah,
so where are you from and where are you living now?
From originally, I was born in Brazil. Brazilian by birth. I lived there till I was about 8, and now I'm living.
Anyway.
All right, rocking and roll. Nice. What was that? Was that like
a little samba?
That sounds very familiar.
Well, the most famous samba, Brazil. That's kind of the classic intro to that. Yeah. I have a Beethoven Ninth Ode to Joy set to that. It works really well.
Oh,
sorry.
Now you get.
Etc. It's called Beethoven's Ninth Samba. You can find it. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. But you said Brazil. I didn't know that. I thought you were from Mexico, so I'm way off on this. If I had known that, I would have done a complete Brazilian score for you.
Oh, well, my it's not, you know the theme of the film, so it's not really.
No, I know.
Either or, but no, yeah, I'm Brazilian, but I lived here most of my life. I've lived all of Center Mass most of my life. Up Massachusetts. You're out in Oregon, right?
Seattle area.
Seattle.
Yeah, Northwest. Seattle. Right.
So yeah. So I'm a little more Center Mass. I'm nowhere near. Well, I'm a little close to Boston-ish, but it's not a close proximity, and that's mostly where I've been all my life. So yeah.
Okay, all right.
That's where.
When did you move? Yeah, right. When did you move from Brazil? How old were you?
I was 8. Wow, so I moved when I was a kid.
Right. Yeah. Do you have any memories of Brazil?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I visit now and then. Yeah, I do. More or less growing up, normal middle class living. I mean, what do you really remember when you're 8? What's that, like second grade, first grade? A little bit of that. So
not much.
Whatever you more or less remember then.
I remember my
first
grade teacher. That's about it. But
yeah. I remember I
Okay.
had two. I think she like quit midway through the year or something, but
Yeah, that could be kind of distressing
yeah,
if you had to kind of go from one place to another like that. But probably easier at that
yeah,
point than it would have been in high school. So you would have
yeah,
been
yeah. It
really
definitely.
pissed off at your
Hmm.
parents if you had moved in high school.
Yeah, yeah. And like you changing and stuff, but yeah, no, I more or less it's like yeah, like you said, second grade, like you're still a kid, everything's new to you, so it's not, it wasn't a big. I mean, at first it was a big transition, but really after a while, you know.
Hmm.
All right, where are you going? I'm sorry. This is my first podcast. I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh well, I don't either.
Ask away, man.
We're even. I just have my list of questions, and that keeps me honest here. So anyway, you didn't look at the questions, did you? Good. So,
I stumble.
no.
Perhaps I did.
All
Perhaps,
right. No,
maybe
it's better if you don't. I shouldn't even put them
I
up.
skimmed.
Yeah. Now you went. So how did you start in film? What was your first film experience? Was it something you did before film school or later or I mean or be
Actually, it was I thought about this a lot because like I don't think I really wanted to make films when I originally went to school. I was like looking through like past like journals and like stuff like that. I don't really think I like had an idea of pursuing film film per se originally.
Mhm.
So if I could kind of trace it back, kind of think I graduated high school. Um, they did have a program there that was like a visual arts program. It wasn't exactly film, right?
Mhm.
Visual arts, but I never took. I didn't take any of those classes. I did theater. I had a lot of fun with that, and I kind of regret not taking those classes now. But I took a year off after high school, mostly just worked and whatever. Didn't like that. I figured I might as well, maybe find something that I want to do. I went to a community college first, and they had a program. I was originally going to go for theater, and then after rethinking it a bit, I was going to do some. I thought maybe I should do something with media, probably more career potential in media. They had a program called Media Arts, and I think for the first year it was very basic, very like it was very the curriculum was around um what do you call television broadcast. It was
Mhm.
a broadcast program,
Right.
and yeah, so it wasn't film related. I think it was one kid in school that did a film. He was like, I'm gonna make a feature, right? And he did eventually make it.
No.
And it was well, it was a kid around 19 making a feature. You know what I'm saying? So it didn't it was like there were a lot of mistakes in it, let's say,
Right.
right?
Right. It was a little rough.
But I thought it was rough. It was rough. He kind of yeah, and there were but it was he did it. He did it. He took one Friday. Every Friday we didn't have class, and every Friday he shot something, right?
Hmm.
And he put the film together, and of course it being rough, but it was like admirable. I was like, cool, he did it. He actually did
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
Um, Thinking back, his big mistake was like story. The story just he wanted to make like this really deep thought, and it went over everybody's head. It kind of became kind of like The Room, kind of comical after a while.
Hey,
But
it could have a future on
like,
Mystery Science Theater.
yeah, yeah. Oh, that's what I told him. But yeah, I don't think he likes us mentioning that too much. But
You can make a lot of money if
that's
something goes like
well.
that.
Another thing was that right, exactly.
Yeah.
But he was, but I was like, that was pretty cool. And then a group of friends wanted to shoot in the summer. He brought some gear, and it didn't go anywhere, right? So I think we only shot like 2 scenes, but at that point we already I was that was the first year into school. And then the idea of like, okay, making films could be interesting. And then I transferred to a 4-year school, and I kind of became a little bit more interested in filmmaking. And that school had a really good film program. They were good. They were all about film. They had a proper film program, and
What
I
school
went
was
to
that?
that program.
What was the school?
I midway, I kind of thought about maybe transferring to marketing or public relations,
Ugh.
but I just didn't. I liked some of those classes. They call it professional communications, but it just didn't. At the I was like, I kind of want to make a film. I kind of want to make a movie, and I could probably get a job entry level in marketing if
Mhm.
after I go. And I was like, I wanted to try this film thing, and
Right.
since the school has such a better program, and you also have more students. At the community college, it was very like a smaller number of students, and even smaller that wanted to make film. And then at the 4-year school, it was just I don't know, it was just interesting. I'd never been in an environment like that with so many creative people and like-minded people everywhere trying to do things.
Hmm.
I think that was like the first time I've ever been in an environment like that, and that was really good to me. It felt like it was what's that saying, like a shoe to a duck to water. That's it, duck to
Oh,
water. I was like, I like that.
what was the
Hmm.
school you wound up at? The film school, or what was the name of the school?
Fitchburg State. It's a state school.
Okay,
Fitchburg
I got
State.
you. But it has
So
a
it's not
film
even really a
department.
film school. It's just like a regular state
Department, yeah,
school
right,
with with a film program.
right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
how many years did you
And
actually do there?
and basically, I did 2.5 because I was a transfer. So
Right.
I think I took an extra semester. Yeah. Which I honestly wish I would have taken a bit more too, because they had a good program, and like compared to like these other expensive schools, so it's very
Yeah.
affordable. So I really liked it there. So Falcons, let's go. But that's where like I kind of found film.
Mm.
That's where I kind of said, I want to do this.
So really, that was pretty late for you. I mean, it wasn't like because I've been talking to filmmakers like, well, I was in high school, I was making videos and things like that. And so this is a little different situation where you kind
Yeah.
of came to it later on. Um, and uh, and what? So again, the why would be in your case because you saw somebody successfully do something like that. That's was that pretty much it?
Yeah,
Was
well, it was I don't know what the why. I mean, it wasn't like successfully in a way, but I like his film was there were a lot of mistakes, but like I thought like the way that I saw it, it was so much like I think if you just retried it again, it could be redone, or if you keep doing it, it'll get better, kind of a thing. Um, I'm not even sure if he's still doing films anymore, but I think originally I really wanted to get into television and broadcasting, but then I saw a clearer path in film, where in film you can kind of be your own kind of.
So okay, so you had your experience at your state school doing film there,
Ed.
and again, the best reason you did it was because you were kind of watching somebody else do it. Were there, but what was there inspiration for
Oh,
you
there you
on
are.
making films in general? And you've made a documentary, which is not necessarily a narrative film. What was your inspiration for? I mean, were you drawn to a documentary as opposed to a narrative initially, or was that more just
Um,
hit or miss on how it happened?
how did? Well, I think at first I think I like documentaries. Kind of the independent feel to it. I think a documentary you can kind of there's more of a vibe that you can do it on your own, or you can do it with a lesser
Yeah, that's true.
crew, and
Yeah.
it's more of your own story, kind of a. I was a big fan when I was a kid. I was a big fan. I think a lot of documentary filmmakers are Michael Moore.
Yeah.
And I remember that. I think the first film I saw was, what was it? Capitalism: A Love Story. And I never, despite what your political viewings or whatever, but I never saw a film like that before. To me, like all the cuts and the montages, all these things kind of just jammed together, all these different stories that he put together, and that made one big story.
Yeah.
And despite your views on what he has to say and how he says them, story wise, he really knows how to persuade and tell a story and change things around and put different narratives. So that was I was really intrigued by that when I first saw that.
Right.
Um, and we had a documentary program. I liked it. I know. I just felt I wanted to take documentary program. I do like narratives, but in my school specifically, I did want to try out the documentary program first. And I learned a lot along the way. And I think when we have to take two classes, which one is like the intro one, and another one is more advanced.
Hmm.
And I think it was during the intro one that I was just driving to school, and I heard the DACA news on the radio, um, NPR, and I just, I kind of felt for them, being an immigrant myself. I kind of, you know, I don't know, and I just thought, that's something worth telling, a story worth saying, and it was just an idea. I think that was years ago, but it was just, something I had in the back of my mind while taking a documentary class. I kind of saw those two things,
Hmm.
yeah.
So
That
it's
my bad.
really personal. Yeah,
Yeah.
you could relate to the subject. So on that, yeah, and
Hmm.
so other filmmakers that kind of you are inspired by in general. I mean, it could be narrative or documentary.
Oh, hold up. You're gonna like this. If you can't, I don't know how well you can see it, but
Yeah.
my man Coppola,
Uh huh.
Francis Coppola, this book by him, Techniques of Light Cinema. That's something he's working on right now. Um, I really like Coppola stuff. He
Hmm.
really just a world of knowledge. Godfather was an amazing film. Who else? Who else? Michael Moore. Just in the documentary world, I thought he was very interesting. Like I said, montaging and getting his points across. Scorsese, pretty much. I've been trying to just kind of learn as much as possible from every filmmaker
Right.
out now, directors and whatnot. I could probably give out some indie names. One documentary is kind of slowly becoming my favorite is Cuba and the Cameraman.
Hmm. I've never heard of it.
That it's actually on Netflix.
Huh.
It's right. I keep forgetting his name. Mar John Alpert, and he's actually local. I think he made a film here in Mass too called I forgot what it was called, but it has something to do with the opioid crisis,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So I think one of my professors said he knew him or something, but yeah, no, that's an interesting one to watch. Cuba and the Cameraman. It details his trip to Cuba from like the 1960s all the way up to 2010ish, kind of 2015.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, um, I don't know. I'm really intrigued by like filmmakers that they're kind of in their own world aside from being a filmmaker. Robert Rodriguez, Rebel Without a Crew. I read that book last year, and that just made me Oh, that was a good book. That's a must read for me. For every filmmaker, I'll say Robert Rodriguez, Rebel Without a Crew.
How about as far as the music side of things? Are you drawn to any filmmaker composer collaborations over the years, or
Uh,
any music that comes to mind with films you've seen that you really like?
well, one of my favorite films, Forrest Gump,
Hmm.
big. They have a very good soundtrack. In that film, it's one of my
Was that
favorites.
Alan Silvestri? I don't know who did Gump.
I'm not sure I can.
We'll look it up here.
We'll both look it up.
Composer, Gump composer, Alan Silvestri. Hey,
All right, yeah.
I win. All right. Well, great composer and kind of expert at minimal melody. I mean, he can really do just these little you know
Hmm.
things like that, and just bring everything out in there. So it's not necessarily. I mean, well, I think he also did like Back to the Future and stuff like that. So he can do a wide variety of stuff for sure. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
and that and of course Gump is like this kind of fake documentary. So
Hmm.
at times where they put.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm also intrigued a lot by history, like a little
Yeah.
bit of these films that are kind of a moment in time. The Godfather, a moment in time in the in the Italian American
Hmm.
experience,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a big thing. A lot of I think films have a longer longevity
Hmm.
when they show like a moment in time.
Yeah.
I think that's what all these cinema movements, like the reason they're so popular, have a lot to do with that. And I think that's you don't see that a lot. I don't see a lot of films now that really kind of say, a guy. I don't know what it's like to be, or maybe there are. Maybe I'm just not
I mean,
looking.
period films as far as.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like, kind of like, so I don't know, like a film that really kind of speaks to say like that's what it was like me growing up in 2015 or 2000. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's not most films now are just huge blockbusters
Right.
like
That's right.
right Marvels or whatnot.
Well, that's true, but at the same time, now you have kind of the emerging independent film movement that's just blossoming under, I hate to say, Amazon and things like that, where
Yeah.
you can actually put a film there and compete with those films. Doesn't mean
Hmm.
you're actually gonna be able to compete that well, but I mean, if you think about the amount of content you can watch from just astounding amounts of places.
Yeah.
As much as those this happened to the record industry too. You used to have
Right.
three record companies. Now you have 3 million, 300 million.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody
And
can.
it's
Yeah,
I
nobody
was
makes any
listening
money.
to a yeah to another podcast. They were just saying that kind of like that whereas the film industry is kind of moving towards the music industry where it
Yeah,
used to be you kind of made a record or an LP and you could get a really good number of sales on it.
that's right.
Whereas now it's all on Spotify, it's all on
That's
streaming.
right. Well, and there's a concept that everything is free.
Yeah,
And if you have
yeah.
to pay for it, it must not be any good. You don't
Right,
want to pay
yeah.
for it if you can get it for free. And
Right, I get it for
and what
free, yeah.
drives me nuts is like with my own film that right, it's going to be moving from Amazon Prime where there's no commercials. Of course, you have to be an Amazon Prime member to do that,
Yeah.
or to like IMDb where there are commercials. And then all of a sudden, on a film like As the Earth Turns, where it's this 45-minute nice little thing, the idea of putting commercials on it and making it like a TV show, and I've talked to a lot of filmmakers recently that are really complaining about that. They go, I don't want to have people watch it with commercials. Like, well, yeah, that's
Yeah,
kind of
well
what
it's
happens, and it's a different moment when you watch a movie with commercials. It's very different
oh yeah.
experience. It
I
takes you
w-
out of it, and you have to kind of jump back. And if you can't race through the commercials, you're like, ah, great.
well, on YouTube, another documentary I really like, documentarian, Mike Bell.
Mm,
Mike Bell, he made Bigger, Stronger, Faster. It's a documentary on the steroid culture of America.
Right.
and very good one. And like you said, it's on YouTube, but it's on ads. So
Yeah.
it's up there, and it's a weird thing to watch with all these, let's say,
Yeah.
cut, yeah,
And they're
and
not necessarily putting the ads in places that are that intelligent sometimes. I mean,
yeah,
I'll watch Pluto because I'm like in love with martial arts movies, and they just destroy those things with commercials. They'll come
yeah,
in the middle of nowhere.
right, like right when you're, yeah, no, that's
Yeah. All right. Well, so genre wise, sounds like period drama is something of interest to you.
yeah.
Um,
I'm
it,
I'm big into comedies.
mm,
I think comedies are like, I know you wouldn't guess it from like a documentary, but I think, yeah, I think I've watched more comedies than anything else.
well, one of
Uh,
my favorites is Spinal Tap as being a fake documentary, mockumentary.
Mockumentary,
I mean,
yeah. My
that to
friend,
me is just incredible.
yeah,
So, that
my
might
friend
be a
just
good
got me to
future for
watch.
you.
My friend just got me to watch what's it called? Waiting for Guffman.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I have thought about, yeah, that is in the quote unquote the works of a
That's right.
mockumentary.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, Christopher Guest, who did all those, he
Mm-hmm.
was originally. I first became aware of him growing up. He was part of kind of National Lampoon, was a wild magazine. It was originally started off as a Harvard Lampoon, and it became a national magazine. There's actually an
Mm-hmm.
excellent documentary about the guy who started that magazine. That's really, really good. I can't remember the name of it, but boy, what a great documentary that was. It's not really a documentary. It's a biopic about him.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
anyway, it's phenomenal. But Christopher Guest, when I remember first hearing about him, they had put together a kind of a rock concert, and it was really hilarious. I can't remember what was the name of the concert series, but it was a lot of the National Saturday Night Live early cast members, people like John Belushi, were in it, and everybody that went on stage would kind of die in the concert, and they did it live, you know.
Yeah.
And it ended up, and Christopher Guest could play anybody. I mean, he was a remarkable mimic. He could do, any singer, any rock player, whatever. So that guy is really over the top, and his understanding of music is superb. On top of
Mhm.
that, so I mean, to me, I'm gravitated toward, especially filmmakers that have this kind of interesting musical side to them as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
no, yeah. Oh, yeah. With your background in music, I can see that.
yeah.
So,
Okay, so let's talk about your film Doc Op. So
oh, cool.
I think we connected on Facebook on that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm,
Because you were looking
yeah.
for music at that point, and I somehow talked you into it. That I can do
See,
this,
yeah,
and
yeah.
but I know it's been really fun and a really good experience. I'm very impressed with the film. I mean, I
Oh,
think the
thanks.
story is superb. So basically, you found a remarkable individual that the entire DACA legislation was started because of.
Right.
So
But
what's the quick capsule on that?
okay, but before we get into
Oh,
that, I wanted to throw it back at you. You said a lot of nice things. What was your, would you say, like, brief, like, first impression of it when you,
as a
if you
film?
have, like, yeah, of the film?
Well, it seemed. I mean, part of it is I was looking at a cut that wasn't necessarily audio quality edited and things like that. So I tended to,
Mm-hmm.
I got distracted by that. I liked the story, all that, but again, my brain initially is like, how is music going to fit in here
Right. Mm-hmm.
when I'm watching something like that? And I think it's about 17, 18 minutes. So, I was trying to think, you know, how much music is needed and things like that. But I thought the presentation was fine and it was good,
Okay.
and the story was important and made sense. And it took me a couple of watches to kind of realize the uh, the amazing level that you got this person. I mean, the first couple times, right? Oh yeah, and then wait a minute. how did you find this person?
Yeah.
It didn't even occur to me. And I think that to me, that's as an interesting as a story as the film itself. So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. So no, I thought it was very good, and I wouldn't have probably wanted to deal with it too much if I didn't really think it had potential
Oh.
as a documentary. So and you had. There's quite a bit of music in there. I get part of it was
Mhm.
she plays a lot of piano because the story is about her as a piano player, and so
Mhm.
my instinct was, well, wait a minute, there's all that. That
What?
intrigued me too because I thought, well, I can do stuff that's classical and should be similar, so that could layer alongside. I still haven't seen the final cut, so I don't know where it's what was used.
Yeah. I'll show you.
For
I'll
all I
show you.
know,
'Cause
you threw away all the music. I don't know.
I just put. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe.
It can happen.
Uh.
It's
Yeah.
happened.
Oh, no, no, no. We of course I loved your music, so you really put in
Good.
there. I think I'll answer your first question about the music, and then I'll go back to the making of it. I think this being like the first me being new to this, I really didn't have anything in mind when shooting when I was capturing audio because I did have a scene where she was playing. She's a concert pianist, so she knows how to play. Um, numerous pieces. I had a lot of issue recording and kind
Yeah.
of I didn't plan right for what kind of music to get when recording her play. So yeah, that was I just felt like it needed some music, but what was that? Oh, finding her, right? That was the
Yeah.
that's also a story in itself. Uh so I was like I said earlier, my original thought was kind of like my around my second semester at this school was when I originally thought about this film idea. And what happened is my school has a program that they give $500 to a script or treatment for a student to be made. It's like yeah, it's like a contest, I would say, right? You
Oh,
submit it, and they give a grant, $500, which is a little bit to kind of help us out with like travel costs or anything like that. And since I already had the idea way back when, I wrote a treatment for another class, and since I already had it lying around, I just submitted it, and I won. I think they really liked the social issue and things like that, so that they like that. Um, but the issue was I didn't have a subject. I didn't have anyone, a dreamer, that wanted to be on camera
yeah.
for it.
Kind of makes
And
sense.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh,
They want to bring attention to themselves.
right, yeah, and that was a
Awarded.
that was kind of a
Ugh.
kind of a moment. Like I got something, and they were like, they don't just give you the money. Obviously, you just have to kind of show receipts and expenses, and they later reimburse you. Um, but yeah, so and then I had till I graduated to make this film, and yet I didn't have a subject. I didn't have a film to make, kind of a spot. So I was in a weird position.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I the semesters went by. I'm still kind of trying to focus on classes, focus on work outside of school, plus having this in the back of my head, like how am I gonna do this? And I signed up for advanced documentary, which is our final class, and I was gonna make the film for that class. And I think we had a meeting. So I think yeah, this so that documentary class is, let's say, in the winter semester, right? We had a meeting in the spring semester to kind of see what are the different groups, what are films about, and just kind of have a plan when the semester started to what we're shooting. And I got other students that I collaborated with, and we kind of put a group together to make this film, but we still didn't have a
Right.
subject. So, and this was like May, June. Just didn't have someone.
This is in what, 2019?
19, yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we just didn't have someone. I've asked family members. They have people that they know. Some had DACA, didn't want to be in it. Some
Right.
were in a different immigration status. I looked into if I could change the topic of the film into something else, and still receive the grant, which I could, but I couldn't really find like another subject that kind
Right.
of fit. And then I reread my treatment, and I mentioned Teresa Lee in the treatment
Huh.
of the film.
As the history part.
Yeah, yeah. And then I kind of, well, I I've done some research on the subject, obviously, because I'm gonna make a film about it, and I've done some research on her
Right.
because,
Right.
um, and then through the research, I knew that she went to school in New York, which is about a 3-hour drive, something like that. And I mean, just kind of out of options, I figured, well, this would be the best person to tell the story.
Yep.
Her. Uh, I'm gonna ask her. It's a student. I found that a lot of people are willing to help if you say it's a student thing, and
Hmm.
like not even just film, just like anything. If you say it's for school
Yeah.
or something.
Sure.
So I figured, we had the money that could cover travel expenses a little bit, and we so I was like, all right, let me see if I can contact her. It's not so she's not exactly a public individual. Like, she doesn't have like a bunch of social media accounts and things like that.
Yeah.
So it was really kind of, she wasn't around.
You had to do
There
a
was
little
no
detective
social.
work to figure it out.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't want to. She is more private, so I don't want to like exactly say how
Right.
I found her, but I
That's
found
okay.
her.
You don't need to.
Yeah.
But you found her, and that's what's so
Yes.
impressive about it. So, and then you obviously you shot a bunch of footage with her. She does a good job of explaining a
Hmm.
lot of the story, and she plays a lot of piano. She has a nice grand piano, and she's a great player. So I mean that was very interesting how that worked, and again what's so interesting about this film is it really is the first person that the Dreamer Act was about. It was all about them contacting Dick Durbin, the Illinois representative,
Hmm.
uh, to they were having problems because she was in the United States with her family, but she couldn't get her scholarship or she couldn't go to
Well,
school.
she couldn't. Yeah, she couldn't apply
You
to
know?
school because she didn't have a
Yeah.
social security number.
Right.
Just because
Yeah.
of that. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to give away too much, but through Senator Durbin, he proposed the Dream Act,
Yeah.
and this was back in 2001.
Yeah.
This was a long time ago, and you kind of see now. Now it's about to go to the Senate. I don't think it's called the Dream Act anymore. There's another name for it, but
Yeah.
so we see 20 years in the
Right.
making.
Yeah.
In like 17 minutes, in this film, and of how much kind of are I don't know, like, if this is like what the impression I gave in the film. This is what I kind of wanted to give. In the very beginning, you see very archived footage of Ellis Island,
Right.
on the 60s and whatnot. And I wanted to give a vibe of like this constant thing that this country's history is kind of going around with immigration and just doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes much sense, but just this story as old as time that we go through, um some things moving forward, and then some setbacks, and getting really
Yeah.
close and then coming back again. It kind of elaborates that with the different administrations that came in and how close the Dream Act was to having
Yeah,
it
and there's a
recovered.
lot of events that happened between 2000 and now, as everybody knows,
Yes,
and they all
yes,
influenced everything that's going on in this
that's going
story.
on.
So,
Exactly.
okay, well, no, I think that people hopefully have an idea of what the story is about. But again, it's quite remarkable. When you think about acts like that, when you think about legislation, you tend to think of it well. Some legislator must have had some grand idea that this is a problem, we're going to fix it. In
Mm-hmm.
this case, this was a response, a request to a specific problem, and then they were trying to design. They were trying to just fix one individual initially, and then they
Yeah.
realized, hey, it's good for one, it's good for everybody.
Yeah, yeah, it
Why
was a
not?
huge, yeah, there was millions and millions. Their students in the same situation she
Yeah,
was.
and that and
It.
that and that's, I mean, that's how a lot of things happen. They, through some situation. I mean, if you think about uh, with gun violence, inevitably new legislation will revolve around events that have happened.
Yeah.
That will create a situation that's going to move it forward. But rarely it's, there's usually more of a disconnect where the event happens and then later something happens in response. This was really a direct connection to that. That's what kind of
Mhm.
blew me away about it was the response was so personal,
Right. Yeah.
and I
I
think
don't.
it'll open up people's eyes for sure.
Did I show you the cut? Man, if I hope I didn't cut this out, but no, because Durbin actually has some. Yeah, he's in the floor of the Senate mentioning his story of him being an immigrant, his mother being an immigrant,
Yeah, I don't remember
and
if, seeing
maybe
that
I.
or not. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Been a several months. So
Yeah.
I'm onward to other things. Well,
Oh, I'm also, yeah.
yeah, let's talk about the music there, because again, this is what intrigued me about doing a program with you is that this is a recent uh, project with you and me, and so I can actually kind of go through my process of scoring with you, and I think it was not a whole lot different than a lot of my scoring processes. I'm usually we did kind of go through the film. Did we do an actual spotting session? I can't remember.
We did. I think we did. Yeah, we
Yeah, I
did.
kind of went through it scene by scene, and it's kind of a three act in a way. There's kind of a beginning, middle, and end to it. The beginning definitely has that kind of minor, and I kind of read it as well. Actually, your music that was inserted that she was playing was kind of classical, if I remember, and
Mm-hmm.
it kind of a little I'm very good at kind of what we call Baroque counterpoint,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing. And I can do that endlessly. So,
Yeah.
on there, and that helps develop themes for me. So that's how I kind of process through that. And that whole Ellis Island thing, again, that was kind of coming to me. It was kind of going back to more sober days. Things were going on.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and speaking of Christopher Guest, D minor is the saddest key. So if you're a Spinal Tap fan, anyway,
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know
The
why.
saddest key.
It's the saddest key. Anyway, and from that, I developed one of the themes that I developed was kind of a little bit of a twist on that, where it was a lot of times composers will create a chordal progression. So I'd kind of chosen that D minor, but then going to an A minor, which is not really as related. Like typically in Bach, you have D minor, A major, which wants to go back like that. But if you do something like this, it's a little different.
Mm.
And then I do this, and then this. I was just looking over the charts I wrote for this thing, and this is kind of a nice little progression. So a lot of modern composers will create kind of a 4 or 8 chord progression or something like that, and then stack harmony on top on that. It's a nice little progression, and it's a little different. It doesn't really I don't think it necessarily throws you into any particular time. It's has a little bit of a modernistic feel to it, but it's also got a classical feel to it. So
Yeah.
that was kind of my process there.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And it fit really well, I think, with the film in general. As you were saying, a little bit of a classical,
yeah.
modern taste to it. Yeah, and that's kind of, I mean, I'm very new to film and even more to music, as you said. So it was really like working with you was a pleasure just to like
I appreciate
learn,
that.
and kind of understand a little bit more should I, how do I look into music, what to consider, everything like that. So it was like,
Well, I
you
think you might have given me some. I can't remember. Did you send me any references? I haven't really looked at my notes in a while.
uh,
Of pieces that were similar or not.
yeah,
Besides the, I think you did.
I did,
I
yeah,
don't remember
I
what
did.
it was, but yeah, there was a little. It was because I like the last section. I remember there was something I did kind of riff off of that. But
Mhm.
all right. Well, so the beginning was this kind of minor quality, and then as things kind of progressed. Oh, and I did have some my catalog. If you, I don't know if you're going to use it, but my concern is when you're doing documentaries, because I'm going through a documentary right now that I'd created, and there's all sorts of clearance issues, especially with music. So I gave you the
Mm.
option of using a news theme as kind of overriding McNeil Lear or whatever it was.
Mhm.
Break in there. So anyway, so there's this combination of original music and some things from my catalog on there. But the second section was a little brighter. I don't remember exactly where this was, but instead of that D minor, all of a sudden it was kind of D major, something like that.
Mhm.
A little longer per chord, but then it has this kind of thing, and this starts developing, coming back into the film. And that's a nice little kind of a grouping of chords that has a little bit of a surprise in it. So again, I don't remember exactly where that fits on there, but I think that's as
Right.
things are developing in the Senate, um,
Mhm.
as he's talking like that. So you
Yeah,
know,
I know the when they're more optimistic note of
yeah,
towards the end, which is another big message in the film I kind of also wanted to put through is that her teacher, um, through her, this bill existed. And the reason that Obama's executive order was passed was through protests and organizations. So it was more of an uplifting moment. I wanted really to get the point of like,
yeah,
um, we're able to change is possible.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now there's also kind of a 9/11 spot in there, and what was
Mm.
interesting about that is when I was going to
Spoiler alert.
festivals, yeah, well, what
Spoiler alert.
had happened between
Yeah.
2000 and you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
but what was interesting about that is I was in New York at a film festival, and I spent some of my time going to the monument, the 9/11 monument, and I took a lot of video there, and I do a lot of music videos for my own stuff, and I had a piece of music that was really dark that perfectly fit that video, and I realized, you know, this could work in that scene, and it really kind of just fit itself in. So I gave it to you and said, "What do you think?" And you seemed to like it. So I thought, okay, well, I don't need to reinvent the wheel here, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But it was, I think it's called "Time for No One," which is kind of a, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know. But
Oof.
that piece came before the video. I didn't score that to the video. The video I took, and then I found a piece of music that seemed to work for it, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
edited, you know, the shots from there. But it has the, you know, it was the fountain there and all the rest of that stuff, which is
Mm-hmm.
just amazing place to go if you've never been there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was that in there, and then the final section was um, kind of a, as things are really kind of getting back up again, um, and Obama gets involved, and all of
Mm-hmm.
a sudden I'm kind of going back to this major stuff like that. And I kind of deliberately put not quite a bluesy feel. I could have gone more like that, but I didn't. I wanted to keep it a little more on I mean, I could say a little quasi-religious sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. maybe an uplifting
uplifting sort of theme.
moment. Yeah.
And then it harkens back to the previous section. And then kind of another one. That sort of thing. So, and that I think works very well, kind of going right through the rest of the film, even into the credits there, and it just builds on there. So, again, it has its ups and downs, which is what you want. It's not just, oh, everything worked out.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Sorry, right?
kinda
What we do.
in the long run.
Kind of, yeah, in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still going on.
It's still going on. That's right. Yeah, this is
We'll
not
see how it goes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, but it's kind of interesting to be able to do that with a filmmaker and kind of see the progression of how things work. And my process is that I tend to go through it and create these little themes. And then one thing I can do with Logic, I compose on is I can play a piano part and then what we call quantize it, kind of make it exact, and then actually print out. Oh, I can never do this. Print out the score, like
There
that.
it is.
The Van score. Well, isn't that weird?
We believe it's there. There it is.
That's it. So anyway, that's kind of one of the sections, and then write chords that I'm doing. So I'm kind of improvising, then add chord changes. Now I might create the chord changes first, then improvise on it, and then kind of orchestrate, add other orchestral instruments, things like that to it, or guitar, or whatever that is. It just depends on how it rolls on there. But it's a really interesting process that I could never have done before modern technology. So, on the film side, you have similar things that have occurred that are much easier to do now than they used to be.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I don't know if there's thinking about that, like editing obviously is a whole lot easier digitally than it would be with real film. That's just obviously a whole nother thing. But there's an improvisation to what I'm doing that I don't have to do, but I can. In filmmaking, I'm wondering, I guess that would be the camera work, the improvisation of you're in a scene and you have to make deliberate choices, and there's no fixed, I have to do it this way. I have 15 ways I can do something. And then I guess in editing, you have a similar opportunity. You can change stuff endlessly that way too.
Kind of. I think on this film specifically, if you like kind of the equivalent of what that improv working, it was definitely when we were shooting her playing piano. We came in like with somewhat of an idea.
Yeah.
I told my camera guy kind of like this short I'm kind of thinking because I can kind of match cut this with this, these shots kind of go with these what I'm thinking here, but I was kind of like I need this and this, and it wasn't much, and then the rest of it I'm just gonna trust your judgment, and I'm just kind of see the best stuff you can get. That and the reenactment
Yeah.
scenes, those was mostly because of time restrictions, because we didn't have that room for too long. So we kind of had to think quick in our feet on what to get, what shots work and what didn't. So those two parts were really kind of grab and go.
Yeah. So, the other thing that I have to say that what totally blows me away is when somebody is able to create any kind of a film and go through a process, not just of creating it, but possibly raising money, and then doing something with it. So, you obviously you did a fundraiser on this.
We tried a short one at school, yeah. Didn't go too far. It covered most of our expenses and everything.
Hey, that's enough, man. That the whole point of the fundraiser is to cover your expenses.
Yeah,
That's it. It's not to raise cash for groceries, you know.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it could, unless it's crafts certified.
Crafty fur, yeah.
But no, no. Again, I'm impressed that you did that, and then you had a little bit of money, so you could hire people like me or whatever necessary to do that. So that's really cool to do. What's your plan with this film right now? What's your going to go for it in the immediate future?
Well, my goal has always been to get into a festival. Um, that was back when we actually kind of went to physical festivals.
Yeah. Well, they're
That's
coming
something.
back.
Yeah, they're coming back. But me and my crew, we were really excited about physically going to one. I don't
Hmm.
think maybe one or two guys have been to festivals, and um, my so the original goal was the overall goal is obviously to bring awareness to this issue, and along the way, kind of being this my first short film, kind of my intro to the doc world, my first,
Hmm.
let's say, real. So really my goals would be to get it out there, get
Yeah.
people to hear about this, learn about this, and kind of show what I can do as a filmmaker.
Right, right. Well, and I'm sure we'll be talking about festivals because I got my ideas about that,
Oh yeah, yeah.
on what to do about that. And again, I think you can have endless ways of getting it out to that. You can spend a lot of time and money
Yeah, yeah.
getting
I
into
mean, now
festivals for
there's
sure.
like more festivals than anything. It
Yeah.
wasn't. I was
Well,
just
that's the
listening.
end of that's where documentaries wind up. There are
Hmm.
there are some interesting platforms that are interested in documentaries. IndieFlix
Hmm.
is this one that's based. Actually, the person who started it is up in Seattle, um, and they love stuff like that.
Hmm.
So I think you have a lot more opportunity now with the documentary than you actually might have a few years ago. And you also hear stories that Amazon is going to get rid of a lot of their documentaries and things. I've heard that lately, but I don't believe it. I think it's what they're saying is, they're going to start moving things around various platforms more and putting certain types of movies in certain places, because there's just too much.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and
Like,
yeah.
yeah. Honestly, it's Have you do you know the film Sriracha? Have you heard of that? It's a short
Mm-mm.
doc. So you know Sriracha, the sauce?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So this guy, he did a film on it. Awesome. Definitely recommend to watch it. But he kind of his website talks a little bit about self distribution and whatnot. I honestly, for this film specifically, I would just probably be happy with maybe having it on Vimeo, and maybe a portion of the buys kind of goes back to an immigration
Right.
cause.
Well, no, you can get involved with nonprofits and do
Yeah.
fundraising and things like that. Absolutely. No, for sure.
Yes.
And you're not necessarily in hock trying to pay back a bunch of loans on this either. So that gives you more opportunity. It's a good calling card. So I think, for that, you can put it out anywhere you want and not worry about, I need to make a whole lot of money on this film. So, uh, I think that's a great idea in this case, for sure. Like the documentary about Richard Lyford I'm doing about the guy who did As the Earth Turns.
Hmm.
I didn't spend a lot of money. I didn't spend any money really putting it together because I had all the assets to work with. I mean, there's a little bit expenses in there in the long run, but so I'm not worried that I have to again make back money on that. So it's a promotion for other films like As the Earth Turns. And you may
Hmm.
find this will work in that favor too, that it will open doors, for you in that respect for sure.
Yeah.
One
No.
thing I'm doing with Richard Lyford's assets is I'm contacting film, not just film groups, historian groups, retirement homes, things like that, places that might be interested in this old film uh, as well, and do screenings with Q&A as part of it, and bonus features and stuff like that. So that's something else I'm seeing a lot of filmmakers do, trying to get away from normal regular distribution channels and doing kind of creative ways to get the film out. And Zoom opens up a lot.
Yep.
You may find there's documentary organizations and associations. I've discovered quite a few, especially on Facebook.
But there's
Um,
one close by here too. I haven't sent them a copy of it yet, but I know
yeah,
I used to intern there, so I should probably get on that really quick.
right, right, right.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, having a deadline will always, get you moving.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
that's the toughest part after leaving school. There's no set deadlines,
that's
and
right.
then
You're kind of like, yeah, I'll do whatever I want to do. What
yeah.
do you have another project in mind that'll be follow up to this?
I have a few projects in mind. That's probably gonna turn towards July-ish when I have a little bit more time.
Hmm.
Um, I got a few like I'll bring this back. Um, the live cinema. This is a very interesting book. Um, Coppola kind of talks about this new medium, let's say, which is it's film. You're watching a film,
Yeah,
right? But it's all live. It's live. You're watching it live. So think of a play, right?
yeah,
Uh, but instead of just a wide shot of the stage as it kind of happens,
yeah,
right? He has it's actually you have your close-ups, your wide shots, your scenes, all of that, and you kind of have to look it up. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but that he kind of talks about how you're watching it live. You can cut through the cameras, which with your TriCaster or whatever system you have. Um, kind of like how a sporting event works. You
yeah,
cut through the cameras and whatnot. But then he talks about the techniques of it, so it doesn't look like a TV show. So he talks about, well, no zoom lenses. You're gonna have to get the prime lenses, but that makes it harder because there's no zoom. So how do you work with someone getting in the shot, cameraman? So it's a very interesting. I think it's definitely something I'm gonna kind of tiptoe with the gear I have. Kind of
So
do.
are you really thinking in that instead of doing a film in a traditional format of scenes and then doing a whole, that it would be more of a one shot in a way, except multiple
Yeah,
camera techniques,
yeah,
something like that.
yeah. I'm gonna do like shorter. I'm gonna try to do shorter versions of those. Um, kind of just to kind of learn the techniques. Yeah, it's kind of I think it is kind of that counter to everything being on streaming now,
Yeah,
on demand. It's then we're gonna start moving back to live stuff again. And
yeah,
why do we have to watch something live? And why does it matter if it's live or not? So those would be the questions that like I guess I would ponder. Why do you have to watch something live? And what makes it interesting enough that you do want to watch it live, you know?
hmm.
Why does this you have to watch it live rather than just at the comfort of your own home or whatever? So that I have a I didn't did I send you anything? I should have sent it to you. But it's I'm doing the I'm calling it I'm doing these short um docs, I want to say. I'm not really sure yet how they're gonna come out. I have a few previews. I didn't send you anything, did I?
No, not yet.
No. Um, is it alright if I find it, if I show it on the screen or
Well, let's leave stuff. I don't want to get in
yeah,
that.
all right. But it's
Let the viewers just try and imagine.
it's a mini series called Art Class and
Art class.
Art Class,
Right.
and I've talked to and I've interviewed some comedians,
Mm,
and that talks about the art process, how they got into comedy, everything like that, and then
right.
I interview musicians, and so pretty much I'm interviewing different artists and kind of going through their process and through their beliefs of what
Okay.
art is. And yeah, I've had a lot of fun with that because I got to work with a lot of friends close by. I got to actually
Hmm.
go out and shoot when there wasn't any work around. So that's something I'm
Right.
gonna kind of focus more. So those are my two
Well, and
focus
we're
right
going to
now.
come through the pandemic, and all of a sudden there's going to be many, many interesting things that are going to happen. So, I would get out and shoot like crazy.
Yeah.
See where it goes. So, you
Yeah.
don't have to worry about film anymore. You got to worry about maybe extra hard drives. That's about it.
Yeah.
So, okay, all right. Well, I think we've gotten through most of it here. So,
Yeah, definitely.
thank you, Eduardo. That
Thank you,
was an
Ed.
intriguing hour of chat. And again, I hope to work with you again. And do it.
Likewise.
So, and hopefully we can get the DACA film out and get some interesting promotion on it. And again, I think it could open up doors for everybody.
Yeah, no, I hope so
So,
too.
okay, well, this is
Okay, man.
Eduardo Freitas. Freitas. That's pretty
Freitas.
close. Freitas. Okay.
It's a tricky one.
And I'm Ed Hartman, and we're two Eds.
Two Eds.
So,
Always a
thank you
pleasure,
very
man.
much,
Thank
and we
you.
will see you next time.
All right.